Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Marcia for HR live from King of Prussia today. I hope everybody's having a good week. I know a little crazy out there in the world right now, so just hang in there. We're going to get through this all together, okay? I've got a variety of questions today, so bear with me. And so just hang on, enjoy the fun, get a pen and pencil, and always feel free to reach out to me afterwards as well, too. So we're here to help you, okay? So don't forget that. Okay, so first question today is from Bob Diguri, or I'm going to call you Bob G. Okay. When leaving a job, are there ways to fight a non compete, and what other things I should look out for? Well, you got to make sure that you really read that non compete, first of all. Okay. And I can tell you just from experience, when I was starting this company, I was actually starting it while I was working for another company. And ironically, I did have a non compete in there. And what I did basically is I actually did something a little bit different than what I would do under my non compete. And my non compete was only for 6 months. And so I started doing this business and putting this whole plan together and knowing that I had that non compete. But you have to be very careful about that. If you're going to be doing the exact same thing as that non compete, that's a very sticky process. And people right now are a little sue happy, suing people. So you want to make sure that non compete is very understandable of what that means. And if you're going to do something else, still start a business, but maybe have a different division or something else different. Like, for example, mine was HR consulting. I couldn't do any HR consulting with my clients or even start it until 2 for 6 months. And so I did recruiting instead. And recruiting got moving and busy and all. But 6 months went really fast. I just wanted to make sure because I know that they would have come after me if I did not keep that non compete. You just have to be very clear what that non compete says. A lot of times, non competes are also written very vaguely. So be very careful about how it's written. I would not basically do another thing that's similar to that until your non compete is over. So just to be safe on your end. Not only that, it gives you heart palpitations. And if you're doing the wrong thing, it's still the wrong thing. And you know what? You just want to make sure that you follow the steps and you do things right all along the process and all too. Especially starting a business. You have enough stress with that too. Okay. I hope that helped you. Alyssa Tambazi asked, I want to start an organizing business, and I am not sure if I should start from scratch and create a new LLC, use my old one and recreate it, or start with trials clients before I do anything. Well, if you have an old LLC and that's still active and all too, I don't see why you wouldn't use that because you're going to have to spend money to create a new LLC. And lots of times you have to spend money to close down that LLC for tax purposes and all. So actually, I would try to keep your own LLC. You can always change the name, but having that LLC is still basically something that's registered with the state. So you want to make sure that I would keep that. Now, an organizing business, honestly, I think that is a phenomenal idea. I have a really dear friend of mine who started one here out in the Philadelphia suburbs, and she started with one person. She now has 13 people working for her. She gets asked all the time to do all these snippets on all the television shows and all too, because I think people being at home right now through COVID are realizing pretty quickly their houses are a mess and they just don't know how to organize things. So these organizers are coming in and doing very well. So she is super busy right now with her team. So I would definitely say there is a room for that. And one of the things you mentioned here too, your services prepare all the clients' life documents. I have another friend that does that too, and she's doing very, very well with that. And you have to follow the demographics. We have a lot of people that are turning 65 and older. So you have a prime opportunity right now to use those skills and to get out to that market in particular so that you can help them get organized because a lot of them are also moving into those 55 and older communities. So honestly, I think it's a phenomenal idea. I think you should put a marketing plan together as to where you're going to get your clients with that. But use your still LLC. You just change the name, and you can do that too by a DBA, designated business entity. So you might want to think about that too. But I would highly recommend doing that. And if you want to have clients on the side doing that too, absolutely. But keep in mind you have to process how accounting is going to flow. If you're going to invoice them, how is that going to be? Is it who your current company, or is it to basically this LLC or changing the name to the company? So keep that in mind. You want to make sure you're still paying taxes as the company owner. So it's processing basically how that's going to flow. And you can have the same LLC and have two different names basically, as if my organizing company and basically my taking care of dirty business company. So keep that in mind. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then the next question is from Roland Bernath. I hope I'm saying these last names properly. The question was asked, how to make employees accept each other and make a team? Well, it's ironic. It starts from the top. And I'm a big believer in culture, and I live it every day. And as the CEO, I have to tell you, it is a lot of work. It's not something that comes easy. You have to constantly. It's like having a garden, and you have to basically plant that seed, and you're constantly basically cultivating it and giving it water and all too. It just doesn't happen overnight. And then you want to have your leadership team basically have that same message and have them basically support you in regards to that too. So what we did during COVID, when COVID first hit, obviously everybody was like, "Oh God, what's going on?" So we actually put together every day for 3 months a 15-minute version of just saying, "Hey, how are you?" on Zoom. And we had the whole group of people, I have about 40 people, go around the room and give us one word of how they were feeling. And it gave me really, as the CEO, a really good indication of what was going on. There was a lot of anxiety. It was anxiousness. Am I going to have my job? And what were we doing? So after a week, I realized, like, okay, well, they're all feeling this way. Let me calm them down a little bit. And that was one of my jobs. And so we would have these calls, and then I would just say, give me one, like a good word, something good that happened to you today or this week. And so they started talking about some good things and then good memories and all. We became so tight and close in those 3 months. I can't even explain it. It was amazing. And I think because of that, not only that, my team is even tighter now than ever. But we needed to have that kumbaya moment, and so we worked really hard to maintain that and to keep it. And then every month too, I would just basically, send them something, even if it was inexpensive, but it was just something to keep us all together. And I think you have to really make sure that when you set this up as a company, they're looking to you for that push, that guidance, that wisdom. And I always say this too. Someone told me this when I got started. If you are sweating, your team is taking a bath. And so you want to make sure that you know that and you realize that. So you really want to make sure that you too have a person that you can talk to, like your own business coach and all too, because you're going to have bad days. We all do. But sometimes it's hard to have your team see that too, because if you're worried, they're panicking. And you don't want your team to panic. Okay, so these are things to think about. Now, in regards to having fun in the team, it was hard because we're all zoomed. We're all zoomy, 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 zoomy. And you know what? That's okay because you can make it fun through Zoom. And we were doing like bingos on there. We were doing show us your prom dress from high school. Show us basically your what's your favorite ice cream. We got to know each other and we got to see the vulnerability side of things. And I think that too really created a lot of bonding with my team. Now, it isn't, you got to constantly be at it. So make sure it's on the calendars. Make sure you schedule it out and all too. Today I have a 15-minute call with my team at lunchtime, and I'm just going to be very thankful for them and say Happy Thanksgiving and go around the room and what's that one word you're thinking of today? And I'm sure that one word is going to be a lot different than those one words we had in March. So you have to make sure everybody really appreciate each other. I also have many committees and all too. So we have 3 committees. We have one that's called Connectors Who Care, which is a philanthropic unit. And I have people on the team for both my units, HR and talent, basically on that. And the idea is to just have work together and respect each other and talk things out. But again, it comes from the top. So you really have to work a little, actually very hard on it. And you want to make sure that people are here because they want to be here. And if people aren't here, and there's always going to be that 1 or 2 people who I call the takers, you have to ask them, are they happy in their role? And you know what? And if they're not, that's okay. There's a lot of opportunity out there and all too, and we're all scared right now. We're all a little bit like what's happening in the next 6 months. But we're in it together, and we'll get through it. We got through it for the past 7 months. So we'll be okay. So these are some ideas I'd have for you. I would also do a town hall. We do town halls every quarter. And what we do is actually we get dressed up for them. So our next one is in January and we're doing superheroes. So I can't wait to be Wonder Woman. But there's our ideas, and they all get dressed up for it. We had one for Halloween, and we had the best costumes, and everybody got really into it and all too. And we had prizes and all too. But it's just stuff like that that you want to make sure that you're really appreciating your team because they're not telling you, but I can put money on it. The people that who aren't married and don't have kids, they are very lonely. And sometimes the people who are married and have kids, they're lonely too. So you want to make sure that you reach out to them. And so what I also do is I call my team, people that don't report to me, I call 3 a week. And the idea is you have to forget the work, how you doing as a person. And they really appreciate that. And I just spend time talking to them. You know what? I go walking when I do that. So there's no computer in front of me. There's no papers and all that kind of stuff. And they know that they have my full attention. So things to think about that. So I hope that helps, Roland. And if not, just give me a buzz. And the next question is from Gabriel Suarez. S. We'll just say Gabriel S. Okay. All right. Question that they asked: looking for suggestions or advice on sourcing non-traditional or non-SBA financing options for my franchisees. Loans anywhere from 75 to 150K. There's a lot of ways for sourcing out there. And, ironically enough, there are, honestly, I don't know if you even checked out your banks right now and all too. A lot of banks are doing a lot of stuff for entrepreneurs, and it doesn't have to be an SBA. And so I would definitely look into that. I can tell you, we've been very fortunate to win a lot of awards this year. And because of that, all these people out of the woodwork try to say, hey, I have capital. If you want to basically borrow any money from us, blah, blah, blah. I would just say be very careful. And I am sure where you guys are all located, there are groups of people that are out there that can help you with that too. So I would check in with your local entrepreneurs and find out where they had gotten financing because they can give you tips and tricks on that too. Just be really, really careful. I think a lot of people are getting taken advantage of too right now in regards to the rates or that fine print and not fully reading because they need the funding. I had one company that financed everything on credit cards. I don't recommend that. So there are ways that are out there, like I said, and check your credit unions and all too. Believe it or not, a lot of credit unions are looking for more members, and so they actually offer you low rates and all too, and try to say what your company's doing. But there's a lot of different avenues out there. But I would say because depending upon each state, a little different in regards to how they do all that too. If you have entrepreneurs in your area, I would definitely work with them and see basically who they're talking to, what they're using, what's working well, what's not working well. And if you don't have something like that, let me know. I'm also a member of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, and I know that there are so many people in all the different states around America that we could help you out, at least get you the right person to talk to. Okay, but be careful. Lindsay Lannon is my next person. A question that this person asked: what are the best credit cards to get for a business bank account? You know, I think it depends. I started off with American Express, and I have a platinum card for me individually, and I really enjoy it because if I want to do something, go someplace, I like having my baggage fees basically paid back to me and all too. So for me, it was worth it. I wasn't sure it was really worth it for the company. It depends what you need. Like I have about 6 company credit cards out to my team right now, and I use Capital One. And I actually have a really good rate. There's a good rewards program. But my sister-in-law, who has her own business in New York, swears by Sapphire Chase. She said it gives you the best rewards. It's one of the lowest rates, and she said it's just the most fantastic customer service. So it really depends upon what you're looking for. I think if you need money and if you basically aren't paying per month, just make sure your interest rate is the lowest one out there and all too, because that interest rate, it adds on every month and all too with penalties. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get in trouble because of the fact that they don't pay that off every month and they think that, oh, I'll get to it. Be really careful. Those are additional fees that right now you just don't want to have on your balance sheet, okay, or your expenses. So something to think about. But it really depends upon what you want. And be careful. Like Capital One's great for me. I can go log in. I can see all my users. I can actually limit how much basically they get per person. And I can also stop it at any time. So one time someone called me and said, "Hey, I lost my credit card." Well, guess what? I could go right in there. I stopped it, so it was basically safe that nobody picked up that credit card could actually use it again. So there's actually you want to make sure you look through all these different things and all too, because everybody's going to sell you something. Um, I have one too from my bank, and I love my bank. My bank is M&T Bank, and they do a great job, and they were so great with me with the PPP and all too. And they have a credit card they want me to use as well. I'll be honest with you, I am on that kind of person, a creature of habit. I just am so used to using my Capital One card, and they've done really well for me. So that's why I've been using it. But like I said, look into Chase Sapphire too. Like I said, my sister-in-law swears by it. Um, and Lindsay has another question for us too. Do you invest in your business, buy a house, or work towards paying off loans first? Or can you do a combination of both? What is the best way to utilize the money I set aside? So let me tell you something. When I first started my company, every penny went back into my business. And my only paycheck I had was basically the money I needed to pay my mortgage. And that was my husband's and my deal. Like I had to make sure I've always been the breadwinner. And I wanted to make sure that the money was always getting paid to do that. And then everything else I made on that went right back into the business. And I did that for about 10 years. And now, I have payroll and I have all those different pieces. And it works out great because everybody gets paid and all too. But you invest in your business. I always invest in my business. And I am really anal about making sure we have the best laptops and we have the best technology, and we have systems and all too. So yes, did I buy a house? Well, I had a house. I try to live as frugal as I can because everything I was doing was going back into the business. And now I feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that things have been paid off and all too. But don't go above and beyond your means. I think when people start a business, one of the mistakes that they make a lot is they spend so much on having an office, on having the very nicest website ever, of having nice business cards and having this and having that, having a car. You don't need that. You need your basics first. And figure out what your basics are. Basics are basically what's making you money. And then put that additional amount of money into the business and all too. So my world is all consultants. Okay, so it takes about 3 months before I get paid from that client. So I need to make sure that I built up that cash to make sure that every payroll, which is every 2 weeks now, I was paying that. When I first started, I did payroll once a month. And it's a little hard to do that, but you have to be very honest with your team and just say, if I have it, I'll give it to you. And when I get paid, you get paid. And it takes a little time to do that. And not everybody was happy with that, but we got through it. And now we pay every 2 weeks, and I have reserves set up. I have reserves set up too because during COVID, we didn't have the work coming in. And so I used those reserves basically to pay for payroll until we got more business moving again. And thank God I had that, because I didn't skip a beat on payroll, nor did I cut any of their salaries. So I know a lot of my friends did have to cut salaries and all too. And they also had a lot of debt. And you need to be careful with debt out there on your books as well, because listen, every 10 years, just always remember this as an entrepreneur, but every 10 years, something big is going to happen with the economy. And it goes up and then it goes down. And it goes down sometimes really hard. So 2007, 2008, 2009 were really tough times and all too, but we got through it. This year has been I don't even know how to explain this year, but nonetheless, you have to make sure that you always have reserves because another year like this, it's going to come within 10 years. Hopefully 2021 we go uphill and all, and then it's going to be great again. Everybody's great. Everybody wants to spend money. Just be careful about that. I always make sure the money goes back into the business and we're saving and all too, because you never know when that rainy day is. And then, I had so many friends that were just having massive heart issues and problems this year and all, anxiety issues and all too, because they spent more than they should have. And so just as an entrepreneur, I'm a big believer in basically being the turtle. I'm going to get to the end, but I'm going to do it slowly and think it through versus the rabbit that wants to just hit there and finish the first. So just be careful about that. Okay. And next question. Here we go. Allison Karanji. Koranagi. Okay. Allison K. I'm just not doing well in the last name today, people. All right. How do you quickly filter out leads that aren't right for your business if you don't have a designated salesperson yet? You know what? I'll be honest with you. I just got everything organized. So I would actually have a spreadsheet of all the leads that came in, and I was doing majority of the sales. And it wasn't until after 10 years that I actually hired a director of sales and marketing for me. And, ironically enough, how do you filter them out? You had to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. And what I would do is put basically that spreadsheet together and just be like, okay, probability of, is this what we're looking for as a client? Would they pay us on time? Is there a margin that's going to be in there? Can we do the work? Kind of a deal. And so absolutely have a CRM, customer relationship management tool to help you with that. And when I first got started, we started using Insightly, which is actually a pretty inexpensive CRM, which you can find online. I now have HubSpot, a little more expensive, but now I can afford it and it just works wonders for me. But when I first started, it was an Excel spreadsheet. And I just basically kept track of the names and all too, and the emails and all too, and it just worked for me at the very beginning. But make sure that your time is valuable, and make sure that you realize that if you're going to work on a client, make sure they can basically pay the bill. Make sure that they really appreciate your service and all too, and make sure that it's like, how much time do you have to work on that client? Because when I started, it was just me, myself, and I. And, I had to get all this work done. You had to figure out how to get that work done in the time frame, and then making sure you had a life, because it's 80-hour weeks can wear on you pretty quickly. So I'm hoping, it wasn't until, like I said, 10 years before I had designated salesperson, but now I do, and now we have a sales pipeline. Everything is through HubSpot, and they actually do most of that work first. I still get involved in sales a lot because I enjoy it. But I really try to push it back off to them now, because I feel as if that's their role, that's their job, and my job is for vision and to really manage this company from top down, not inside of it. So I hope that helps you a little bit, okay? And Stephen Davis, what is your advice regarding how to handle prospects that are solely focused on price? So basically, you had mentioned, I am asking this question, and I'm currently dealing with a prospect who is solely focused on price, regardless of value. The prospect is a sizable company that has great influence in their industry. Obviously, you can only reduce the price so far, but what is the best way to manage the situation? I do not want to lose a prospect. I agree with you. It is really hard. I had a really big company in Center City, and they pushed me down on price so much. And two ways of looking at it. Is that company's name going to help you get other business? And if it is, then that's basically work with them on the price side of the house. If it's not, and you can do better, then don't, and then walk away from that. But you have to keep in mind that the cost benefit here. And so for a couple of years, there were a few places that my margins weren't great with some of my clients. And I was like, okay, well, I needed that name on my decks. So when I sent out more information, or references actually, I could say, hey, I used this client and this client, and they really liked us and all too. So I had to just I call it swallowing my pride, and basically helping them out what they needed and not to, and getting them what they needed, and doing a really good job of it. It was really hard because I probably didn't make the margins like I should have, but it was the idea of, I wanted to have that name onto basically my marketing materials and collateral. So it really depends upon what you want to give up and what you want to do with that. Now, what you might want to do is put into the contract that prices are subject to change on an annual basis. And so we did that. And so we started doing that, like a 5% every year. And we talked about cost of living, the cost of benefits, and all too. Matter of fact, I just changed a rate, $10. I increased it $10 an hour for one of my clients. And they came back to me saying, I don't understand the change. And so I wrote back to them saying how much money they had saved by using us the first time. And I put in there how much it cost, how much they saved, blah, blah, blah. And ironically, when they opened up the contract on DocuSign, they viewed it, and within a minute later, they signed off on it because they totally understood the value that we added to them. So sometimes they get blinded by the light, and you have to do a little extra. We call them the returns on investment. And now we send that out to all of our clients after we're successfully done that client. And you know what? Until you bring it to their attention, sometimes you just don't know. And so you want to show how valuable you are. So when you do those price increases, they have no problem signing off on that document. Okay. So I have to figure out what's important to you right now. Okay. And I have from Asia Small. I got that last name. No problem. All right. How many email licenses should I purchase when setting up a company email? Is it just me? So I was going to get blah, blah, blah. Should I do my first name or something else? But should I get a support, blah, 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 because I plan on getting a support person next year? So I used Microsoft Office 365. Very simple, very easy, very good for entrepreneurs and all too. And so when I started, be careful though too, there's about 4 different licenses that you can purchase in there. Trust me, I learned all this by default, people. And one of them is the premium. So you get all the different stuff. You get the PowerPoint, Excel, and Word, and blah, blah, blah. The second one is basically just getting an email address, but you don't need all those pens and whistles. The premium is like $12 a month for your people. Just having an email was like $4 a month, and then there's other ones that you could use in there too. But you want to make sure that I have an info at TOCGRP, basically just to have out there. So if anybody has any questions on my website and all too, I have that as well. But I would actually, what I would do is how you're setting up your emails is how you're going to set up all your emails. And that's why like mine's M. O'Connor at TOCGRP. And then all my people is the first initial, the last name, and then at TOCGRP. So there's consistency and it looks smooth. It looks like we're a lot bigger out there than people think and all too. It's all about that image, okay? So don't forget this. When you're setting up your email addresses, you want to make sure there's just a consistency with all that too, okay? I do have support, but I have more like accounts payable at whatever, you want to make sure these things are really easy. I have my sales team. So all my salespeople are on that. So I have one email that goes out to all of them. So you want to really think about that stuff and all because you're paying for each of these. And if you don't need it, you just need it for the individual, just set it up that way. Now, Office 365 has groups too. So you could set up a group. It doesn't cost you additional money, but basically within your team that's on those emails, they're going to get that information. So there's so much stuff that you can do with Office 365 that I highly I recommend using that to get your email started with that too. But you want to start small with that because keep in mind, each email license, for me, it's $12 a person. And it adds up. So every month right now, my Microsoft is not cheap. And I keep that in mind, but yet again, if a license isn't being used, I take it off and I add it to somebody else too. We check that all the time. So I hope that helped answer your question, okay? Next one is from Eric Blandino. Should I be concerned if job applicants don't send a resume like I ask? Yes and no. I think a lot of times, depending upon the age right now, I think a lot of people don't really have an updated resume, to be honest with you, and they're taking that LinkedIn profile instead and using that as their resume. And so it's interesting, but a job applicant, if they really want the job, they're going to do what's necessary to get the job. And when you're not getting that quick feedback and things like that, no offense, I wouldn't be interested. And, I've had people, so when I first started, ironically enough, it's so funny how it all works. When I first started, I would ask for people's, resume, let's talk, and I would try to pick people that I was interested in. And then they would look at your company and realize you're small and all too, and they're like, yeah, well, I've been told you're not a real company. And I sat there like, huh. So first of all, when I hear something like that, that tells me they're not willing to take a risk to basically grow with me. And that's a shame because I refuse to fail. And I'm sure you're the same way too, because you believe so hard in your business and all too. So you just have to figure out and know, don't settle, because these are people working for you and you're working your butt off for this business and all too. And if they're not willing to work their butt off too for you, no offense, you got plenty of fish in the sea. There's a lot of people out there. You're going to have to build it the way you want. And that passion comes through when you talk to people. And after I talk to them and talk about where we're going, what we're doing, I could tell that they're all pumped up and psyched and they want to be a part of it. But I've had other people too say to me, like, well, what else can you do for me? Well, stop right there. And when I hear stuff like that, I don't need you. I just don't. There's plenty of other companies that'll do whatever you need, but unless you're willing to roll up your sleeves with me, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work with me. We all have a lot of responsibility here. We all work our butts off here, and if you're not willing to do that with us too, then don't think about it. And then what happens is I'm 13 years in my business now, and we're doing, knock on wood, we're doing really well. But it didn't come easy, and I have some people with me from day one who I still take care of because she quit a full-time job to come to a place that she was my first employee, and she took a chance on me. And so I constantly take good care of her because I realize she's amazing, has been with me and stayed with me, and it hasn't been non-busy a day yet. So be careful who you pick on your team. Find people that really are okay taking that risk with you, and they want to see you grow, and they want to see you basically become what you want to see your vision to be. But yeah, when they don't send a resume like I ask, just be careful about that, because a lot of people that don't send resumes, that's one thing. But if they don't want to, and they're giving you a lot of crap with all this other pieces and all too, say no. Your time is too valuable, and you're too good at what you do. So don't settle. And you'll regret that in 6 months if you do. And follow your gut. If I can tell you any advice about hiring people, and this has happened to me every time, I've had people say to me, "You should hire this person's great. This person's great," but yet I felt like I must. Okay, I'll follow your direction, guys, but I just don't feel right. And then 6 months later, whose headache is it? It's not their headache. It's your headache. So follow your gut. I am a big gut person, and let me tell you something. If I still feel that, I'll push back on my team. I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. And now it's really funny because I'm so like into that. My team was like, whoa, Marcia's not feeling it. We're not going there. No way. She has really strong vibes. It's a nice work with my team now too. But it's really important that you are comfortable and you feel like this is the kind of person I want on my team. So don't ever settle. Okay. Next one is from Gaber Raz, R-A-C-Z, sorry. I'm killing everybody's last name. How do I keep track of what everyone's doing in a growing team? Okay, listen, you're not. You gotta, now at virtual, it's really even harder to do that in law too. It's called trust. It's called basically, where's your project plans? For my team, we're billable. And so obviously it's really easy for me to figure that out, because if billables aren't where they need to be, if I ask questions, I'm like, okay, what's up? What's happening? Now, if you're not billable and all too, there's no reason why you can't have your people do project plans and basically say, hey, these are my projects I'm doing this month, and here's the status of where I'm going and what I'm doing. That's the best way of doing it. You got to trust your people. If you don't trust your people, you have the wrong people. And it's that simple. And I have a lot of clients that wanted people to be in the office because if I don't see them in their seat, they're not doing their work. And I look at him like, oh my gosh, like, grow with the times, buddy. Like, this is now 2020, the year that of history made. And I said, you have to trust your people. If you're not trusting people, then you're doing something wrong with your hiring. So, I always tell people to do a project plan, put together what they're working on, how they're working on it, who they're reporting to, and all too, questions asked and all too, and have a funnel for them. Like I said, it's hard working from home, especially for people who are so used to being in the office. But it doesn't mean it can't be done. It doesn't mean that you can't trust your people. And once you start trusting them and basically giving them a lot of accountability and all too, and having them report to you that information, you better believe that the right ones are gonna step up for you and really help you out with that. And the wrong ones aren't, no matter what. And they're gonna give you excuse after excuse after excuse. They don't belong on the team because it's not fair to the ones that basically are working hard and they know they're working hard and they can see the other ones that aren't working hard. So don't settle for that, but make sure you have accountability steps in there someplace, okay? And, all right, last question. Michael Rays, what is the key to finding and keeping employees? You know what? We've been very fortunate. We had won a lot of awards this year, like I said. And the one word that basically summed us all up is the word fun. And you're sitting there like, fun? We're an HR and recruiting company. And it's like, well, yeah, we have fun. So just because we are an HR and recruiting, and to be honest with you, when you're recruiting, how you get rewarded is you get more positions. And how much fun can that be? But the idea behind it is you got to make it fun to go to work, and you have to be appreciated, and you have to take care of your employees and all too. So once that starts happening and people really feel appreciated, they know about it, guess what? Your employees are your number one avenue of finding more employees. So if you do that, I think it's really important that you take care of your employees, but you have a really good employee referral program. You make a big deal of it and all too. Mine is $1,000. Like if I have somebody that comes on board, and now it used to be 6 months waiting for it. Now I pay them in 3 months, because I know everybody is, I want them to feel appreciated and thanked and all too. So I'm really anal about that to make sure that they have that piece of it. But finding and keeping employees, you know what? Ironically enough, I've been very fortunate. I have a lot of people that sort of come to us now too, and referrals of referrals. So you want to make sure that you keep track of all of them. I keep a bench now, and that bench is very important to us because when things get really busy, I need to look at that bench and who I want to hire and to bring on board. I like the fact that I have a waiting group to come on board, but it took time. It didn't come overnight. I had to prove to people that I was serious about the business, about what we were doing, where we were going. Even a small thank you card goes a long, long way because the big companies aren't doing that. And you know what? We're in a really good position right now. I hate to say that. I know COVID is a pain in the butt, but a lot more people are really rethinking the idea of big business, and they're going into smaller businesses because they feel as if they're being taken care of much better by small business than the big business. So hop on that train, guys, and basically, have things in mind that when you come on board, you have an onboarding, hey, welcome aboard, and getting a sweat jacket or something like that their day of and being shipped to them, and making sure that they have a buddy. There's so many great ways you could do things out there that could be free as well that you don't realize it. Even using your phone and having like small messages of saying, hey, these are the new people. Hey, everybody, welcome aboard, Tom. Hey, Tom, welcome aboard. You put it together like an iPhone little movie, and poof, it's a nice way to say, hey, welcome aboard. And it didn't cost you very much. So these are great things to think about and all too. But the best way to find and keeping employees is be true to them, be real, be honest, be vulnerable, care about them, and just be honest and open, especially during COVID. Right now, they need you more than ever. So checking in on them. Mental health is a huge problem right now too. So make sure that you know that they're okay, and give them time to breathe because they've got families to take care of. They got the small kids at home, and the fact that you care about them and you're reaching out to them, it really means a lot to them. So that's how you're going to keep your employees. Okay. That's it for today. That's the questions that I have. I appreciate you spending time with us today. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, O'Connor at TOCGRP, all those in the O'Connor. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your families. Be safe, be well, but have fun. Try to have fun in there some way. We're doing, every year we do, for 20 years, we've been doing bingo after turkey. It's called Turkey Bingo after Thanksgiving. And we're doing it again this year. I only have my immediate family coming this year, but the rest of the people, we're actually doing it all on Zoom. And these are great bingo cards that are out there online. And we're doing Zoom bingo. And ironically, we're going to be sending gift cards out there this year instead of the prizes that we used to have. But make it fun, people. Make it memorable, because trust me, in 10 years from now, you'll still be talking about this Thanksgiving, okay? So enjoy, be safe, and keep on plugging away, guys, because you are awesome. All right, take care now. Bye.